and it let out this blood-curdling, guttural scream.
On the side of the road, he sees a deer carcass and something eating on it, which he thought was a bear. And as the lights hit it, it stood up. And, like, this gives me chills talking about it. He said it stood up and it had the face of a man.
Hey everybody, welcome to Friday Night Bigfoot Live. I'm your host, Bryan Sawyer, coming at you. Thanks for tuning in. Hey, listen, man, we're going to jump right into it today. I'm blown away. Now, I got to set this up for a second. Everybody, or most of you, know about my fairy sighting. Now, when I had that sighting, I was wide awake, and there was something I had to reconcile with myself. It was that the fact that, wait a minute, this just happened. This happened. I was wide awake. I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't having a dream. I wasn't having a vision. I wasn't in that land between sleep and awake. I was fully awake. I have the fairy sighting, and the thing that was stuck in my brain for, maybe a month afterwards was, what was that? What was that? What happened? And so many of you at home can relate to this because of your Bigfoot sighting, your UFO sighting, whatever it may be. Now, I'm going to elaborate more on my fairy sighting in just a moment, but it was the exit strategy of the fairy to get away from me, what it did, that also blew my mind. And so I had to figure out, okay, what just happened? Why did it happen? And how did it happen? Well, today we got a guest, man. Oh my gosh. If you don't know him, you need to know him. And you need to follow his SquatchTopicPA YouTube channel. I'm talking about Josh Joyner. This guy is amazing. We had him on the NCI show recently, and he blew my mind. I couldn't write fast enough, and my brain couldn't keep up with everything he was saying, but I knew it was everything I needed to hear to make sense of what happened to me and my fairy sighting. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and we're going to bring our moderators in first. Hey, Sherry Radu, how are you? How you been?
Hi, everybody. I am great. Thank you for having me again. Appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. You, of course, are my co-host. Every Friday, you're welcome here. And, last week, if you didn't see last week's episode, Sherry Radu got out with Bigfoot eyewitness Brian Barber out into the upper portion of the lower peninsula of Michigan. And, man, they found Bigfoot evidence, even some what I would call possible interactions. So check out that episode last week. All right, we're going to go ahead and bring in Brenda Goodwin, my other moderator. She is,
Hello.
in case you didn't know, what is she? She's the owner of what I call the Michigan Skinwalker Ranch. Hey, Brenda.
Hi.
Man, and you got to bring up with Josh today. All I'm going to say is Phantom Horse. All right. If you can bring up your Phantom, and your other stories, of course. And Josh, I can't commend this guy enough. He has been able, he's been able to kind of connect the dots that have been swirling in my head. And I know he's got some answers for us tonight. Hey, we got some other co-hosts tonight. Oh my gosh, look at this. Tim Dills from the NCI show. Tim, are you still the redheaded stepchild? I didn't know we had changed your name per last night's episode.
Yeah, I reckon I'm stuck with that one for a while.
Not like the Fudge Oreo King or anything?
Well, they started calling me Dreamsicle because I like white Oreos and wearing an orange shirt. So, being the redhead stepchild, you just take it as it comes. You're used to it. So, I mean,
feel
I,
like
I went from stud muffin to redheaded stepchild to dreamsicle. I mean, I'm just going further and further down. It's okay.
I was worried that the new name Dreamsicle might get us an R or mature rating. I wasn't sure
Yeah.
exactly what that meant.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I'll go back and erase it if they stick it up. Rob Beffler, I got to watch him and George. You never know what they're up to, so
I love it.
I'll keep eye on it.
Hey, you were just at, what was the conference you guys were at that you spoke at?
I'm not sure because I didn't get to go the first day, but it was in Johnson City, Tennessee. It was I know they had some MUFON people there, UFO stuff, and I think it was a sort of a Paracon or something like that. I didn't get to go up until that Sunday, but Jerry and Harley and Todd Landers went up on Saturday, and then me and Rob Beffler got to go up and be with Harley on Sunday. And it was good. I mean, people telling us accounts and just taking us in like we was one of them. It was a great time. It really was.
Fantastic. It was great to see Harley and having Harley back on the show last night. So yeah, man. Mm-hmm. And I'm so excited to have the whole NCI team up, or whichever members can come. Everybody at home, September 26th, Gladwin, Michigan. It's called The Lodge. It's just kind of like a big log cabin house. We're going to have our second town hall meeting. We're going to have the film crews there. We've got to do some recording for our feature film that's called Bigfoot Empire. That's hopefully going to be released in a couple of years. But yeah, if you get a chance to that, mark down in your calendars, September 26th, Gladwin, Michigan, The Lodge. And we're going to start advertising soon on that, right?
Okay. Yes, we are.
Fantastic. Cool. Hey, guess who else is here? Oh my goodness. We got a lifer, Sasquatch eyewitness. See, Cheryl Green, who I'm going to bring in here in a second, she's not just an eyewitness. She is one of our privileged people who has actually had years of relationships with the forest people, man. So let's go ahead and say hi to Cheryl Green. Hey, Cheryl. How are you? Hey,
hello.
You guys hear? I can't hear Cheryl. Can you hear her?
No.
Okay. Hey, Cheryl, double check your settings. With all the new tech, we've been really good. You might have the mute button on, but you know what you do? Hold on a second here. Let me see if I can tweak that. Here you are. Let me check. Come on, work for me. There it is. Having a little bit. All right, hold on a second, Cheryl. Huh. All right, Cheryl, you stay right there. Let me see if I can get this. But we're going to go ahead and bring Josh in. Cheryl, we'll be right back to you. Hey, Josh Joyner, man, SquatchTopicPA. Welcome to the show. I've been chomping at the bit to get you on. Everybody, in case you didn't know, go check out NCI, his episode there, and we're just going to be building off of that because Josh has got so much knowledge and everything. Hey, Cheryl, can you hear me now? Will you go ahead and try to speak? I think I got you.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
All right, fantastic. You're good. No, you're good now. It took a second for my setting to click over, but how are you? How's your week been, Cheryl?
I'm doing pretty good besides 2 vehicles breaking down, but we're doing good, and I'm getting out in the woods this weekend.
Fantastic. Well, Cheryl, you want to hear our guest today because he's absolutely amazing. He's kind of helping me understand my whole fairy sighting. Now, with that said, Josh, I'm going to set you up with my fairy sighting detailed, and then we're going to let you have at it. Brenda Goodwin's got some questions for you today. So everybody at home, if you heard this fairy story, go ahead and get a cup of coffee or something because here it comes again. Josh. So I moved to Sandusky, Michigan. My father had passed away. His house had been sitting vacant for about 2 years. Okay. So I get there and it's pretty decrepit, it's pretty run down. I got to put a new roof on, gutters, you name it. I mean, we got leaks coming in the house. So it was in a bad situation, floor collapsing, really bad. I kind of beat me, my sister, and my brother up that we should have taken better care of it. But anyways, I get the task of taking it over and fixing it up, and we're going to flip it. Well, I'm living here now because of so many experiences here. It's almost part of my lineage now. But so I'm in the house and I'm working on it. I'm fixing up stuff. And I go to lay down in my dad's bed, which is still there. Still the same setup when my dad lived there. I go take a break. My mind is Rolodexing really fast. So I always reiterate this. I was not even close to falling asleep. Even though I laid down, I had my eyes shut. And I barely had, I don't know, 30 seconds, 2 minutes tops. I'm laying there and my mind's Rolodexing. Oh, I got to fix the gutters. I got to do this. Oh my gosh, there's so much to do, so much money going out, blah, blah, blah. And so I'm just thinking to myself, and then all of a sudden, whether it be I think it was an audible voice because I've had to go back and dissect my whole encounter. I'm laying there and I hear someone, a female voice, say, "I've heard about you." Now, my mind goes, there's a woman or a girl in the house, and I'm Rolodexing. I'm like, well, we've had a couple of break-ins. The house has been sitting vacant. Probably somebody's coming in wondering what the heck I'm doing there. So no big deal. So I'm thinking I'm going to open my eyes to see a girl standing in the doorway to my left. And I open my eyes after I hear, "I've heard about you," to a fairy about the size of my hand, floating or hovering. I believe she had wings about a foot away from my face. And I do this for everyone. And she's looking intently at me like this. And her head's cocking, and she's studying me, bro. She is studying me. And unexpectedly, out of my mouth, I say, "I can see you, right?" And this is when I heard her audibly. So then I figure, okay, what she said, "I've heard about you" in the beginning. She probably spoke it because I hear her go, "Oh," and she zips across the room. And on the top of the dresser is the TV. And it's got, it's kind of an old setup from my dad. It's got the cable running into this box and a DVD player running into a box, which runs to the TV, whether you call it a junction box, but it's got a power on light. Well, she flies right into that with a pop, pop, and then sparks fly, and she's gone. Dude, she flew right into my electrical system. She transposed herself from physical matter and from what I could see and her audible expression. And that was her quickest strategy. So I did an AI thing recently, because it's been driving me crazy for the last couple of years. And AI kind of explained it metaphysically, how she could slow her vibration, slow down. And then I thought, well, maybe she didn't realize that she had slowed herself down so much, her vibration, that I could see her, because she was shocked, seemingly, when I said, "I can see you, right?" And so her exit strategy was she identified that the electrical system was her quickest exit strategy. And AI did a pretty cool breakdown. So there it is, man. She, I got a picture of her somewhere. She had grayish blue skin. She had black eyes, and they were kind of like the alien gray eyes. And I'm pretty sure she was bald. But other than that, she had very feminine characteristic. She was definitely a female. There was no misgendering. Her voice sounded feminine. Everything was about her was female. So with that said, what are your thoughts on that? Let's kick this show off, brother.
Well, there's a few key points that where you were reciting your testimony that I've noted on here. you're talking about the vibrational shift, and whenever they lower their vibrational frequency into a dense matter state, she could have lowered it to the point, as you were saying, to where she didn't realize that she was within the nanometer spectrum of your eyesight. And another thing is what they would raise their vibrational, they would either cast into an orb state, go translucent, where they look like the Predator from the Hollywood sitcoms, or go into the ethereal state to where their corpuscles and atoms would break down from the molecular structure to where they would become like a soul source in a sense. Nothing there anymore, even though it's there. But the fact that it pulled into an electrical unit. So where do you get a lot of sightings at when you're out in fields? High energy resources. That's when you're getting the certain minerals in the earth. You know, different vibrational frequencies for different minerals, such as quartz and things of that nature. Also, you have underground water, running water, and electrical grids on top of ley line and all that. So in this case, we're going to pull into the electrical sense. So, you know, when you have those big power lines, a lot of people get sightings along power lines of like squatches and people called dogmen and things of that nature. So they're attracted to those sources because it actually feeds their vibrational frequencies. You know what I mean? They're like frequency vampires in a sense to say, not like the "I'm gonna drink your blood" kind of thing, but the residual energy helps them. Just like whenever a being cloaks. You know, like I said on the NCI show, your tree structures, you know, your vertical X's or grounding points that holds a residual energy and holds a certain charge. And then you have your horizontal X structures that correspond in with the vibrational frequencies, and those are the doorways that can take you into the mirror realm. And then also you have your TP type structures and your astro structures. Now your astro structures would be your battery source that emits your energy, directional, all different ways. You have your triangle structures going around these structures to direct the flow of the vibrational source of energy. But your TP structures are there to absorb the bioelectrical discharge. So, being that they emit a bioelectrical discharge, that means that at some point the energy of electricity, to say, could be used as a type of fuel source for their frequencies as well. So being that she decided, I'll call her a she, based on the features, that she pulled into an electrical system or device, that makes sense to me. Something that small, you know what I mean?
Right. What do you think? So, okay, so we've got that. I found it amazing. I don't want to get too far down this road because I can't handle it yet. But time, I don't know if this is the right phrasing. Time dispensation. All right, she said, "I've heard about you." This is prior to me getting in to all of this. This is, you know, just at the beginning of me getting into the TV show with the Bigfoot eyewitnesses and all of that. And it seems to correlate that. So it's almost like she heard about my future position and I've heard about you. Well, I don't know what that means. Or was there, I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I actually do. It's not necessarily what you're going to be studying or your status of things of that nature. If you go back into the Sumerian text, some people see a lot of texts state you're reborn, and some people are marked. Some marks you don't see, some marks you do see. You know what I mean? Don't quote me on this, but you could be marked and never know it.
Okay.
And that could be that they're seeing and knowing your vibrational output frequency.
Gotcha. That makes sense. It's like
your signature. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense because there's a I'm almost finished here to my co-host. Thank you for putting up.
I don't think they watch TV.
there's a location by me, and I'm going to take the NCI guys, and I call them the Black River Bigfoots. Friend of mine, Matthew Sexton. They are an aggressive clan of Sasquatch if they don't know you. But they have of course they've known Matt, and they actually kind of received me as soon as I got there. It's like they didn't have to warm up to me at all. And then of course I've got another location, which I think a female is at, but anyways, so that would make me understand more this whole marking, this whole understanding, like, okay, Brian's not a threat, and then too, I think the word gets around in the paranormal cryptid world between these different entities and creatures. They communicate with each other like, hey, that Brian guy's okay, don't worry about him. But then if you come in, if you're a newbie and you come in with ill intentions, like in the same location, this hunter, I talked to this hunter. He's like, dude, I was so scared. Me and my brother, we thought we were surrounded by a pack of lions, and they made sure I thought we weren't going to make it out. And so I have those stories, but yet they've been kind to me. So that makes sense if you are tagged or marked that the paranormal cryptid world may know your intentions, man. So, wow, man.
And what else collides with this as well is, the all is mind when you get into the principle of mentalism and things of that nature. I have a prime example of this. For example, you know how you hear of harmonic induction, which people call mind speak.
Yes.
If their frequency of vibration is harmonizing, like two tuning forks resonating the same exact pitch, they can transmit their thoughts into your brain. That's what you call mind speak. It's harmonic induction. So, and I'm going to use a field experience. I had a guest who was another YouTube channel come out to my location where I research, and he was cool when I was down there. And my vape died, and I was like, dude, I need to go up to the property and get my other vape. You're going to be cool down here? There was 8 squatches around. He's like, oh, yeah, I'm good down here. I was like, all right. I started going up. I looked back. I was like, dude, are you sure? He's like, man, go. As soon as I went to turn my back, all 8 of them, without saying a word, all took one step in on him. And even on his channel, he said that he felt like he was in the middle of a lion's den at that point. And he knew that his welcoming was only through me being his threshold.
Wow.
So the fact of it is, though, they did not communicate orally. It was a silent gesture, no hand gesture, no nothing. They all, in a military cadence, moved simultaneously. It's almost as if they have a neural network. Like my main research location is 47 miles south of here, but yet I'm interacting with the ones out here in the woods outside my house. And they interact with me just as well as the ones out there do.
Wow. I love it, man. I love it. All right, Josh, thank you so much, man. You're really helping me to get to kind of the next level of understanding. So, man, and yeah, we're going to be talking so much, but I want to get to some of my co-hosts and some of their questions. All right, guys, who wants to go first? Sherry, you got any questions for Josh?
No, I just appreciate you sharing all this and really valuable information and insight into things that make a lot of sense from the energy and the vibrational concepts are very interesting. So I probably will have some questions, but not right now.
Okay.
Yes,
do you want to, Sherry, do you want to quickly share what happened to you? Sherry is our season 2 episode 1 encounter, and you mind sharing, Sherry, the name of your Sasquatch? I think Josh will find the name interesting.
Yeah, Josh, his name is Naboo. And Josh, why don't you tell us what that means in translation?
I don't know. See, I'm not going to BS you. If I don't know, I don't know.
Right.
So I looked it up.
They call me Humama Alma.
So, oh yeah. So in my experience, Josh, when I had never, you got to realize that I had never gave Bigfoot any thought at all. I didn't care less about it. I didn't care anything about it, and I didn't really know anything about him when I had my encounter. So I was very naive. So when I had my encounter, it was quite interesting. Towards the end of my, because it actually was happening over 2 hours of time span. But at the end, when I actually got face to face with him, I didn't know what I was really looking at, other than I knew in my mind that it was a Bigfoot. And in my mind, I'm like, are you really real? I can't believe these are really real. As I started running away, Josh, I'm like, holy cow, I can't believe this is happening, kind of a thing. And he says to me, he says, I'm the guardian of the children. And I'm like, I don't. Now, this is through mind speak, Josh.
Harmonic induction.
And I'm like, I don't care who you are. Just running full blast back to my truck, to get in there. And at that point, this whole story it's very deep and very long, and I didn't want to take a lot of time. But the point of it is he did mind speak right from the get-go.
That's nice. I had 12 years of hell when I first started. I thought there were people messing with me till I got on my trail cam, and I'm like, holy crap, we got monkeys in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And they were throwing rocks at me. They were throwing poop at me. They were mean.
Yeah.
Then I started gifting them.
Well, I laughed because that's how he started interacting with me during that two-hour episode, because he had thrown a rock at me. Because I kept sensing somebody looking at me or around me, but I was in a very, very, isolated area where no one was really around, and that's how it started. So,
well, also, you're a female too. I mean,
yeah,
I'm a male, and I was an intruder on their territory, cussing at them, flipping them off, and calling them inbreds because I thought they were backwoods people messing with me.
Well, but the point of the thought, and it was very interesting because Bryan came out and helped me through this whole experience, and I really appreciate that, Bryan. But here's the thing: is that the things that we had found, and especially a TP type of structure, and when you had mentioned that about the bioenergy discharging type of structure, I find that very interesting because he appeared and it was built as if he was staying in there and sleeping or something like that.
Yeah,
they're actually big enough. Like you could go inside those things, stand in there, look up, and record.
Yeah,
everything. But it's almost like an energy tower.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he eventually started coming to the house, and finally just said, you keep interacting with me, mind speak, for like 2 weeks straight, and I said, what is it you want from me? And I said, if I'm going to have this dialogue with you, what is your name? And as clear as a bell, he said Nebu. So I looked it up. And Nebu is Nebu. And I looked it up, trying to understand what that meant. And it said the guardian.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. So
fantastic.
What I heard in field, I would say. And then 2 weeks later, the definition of his name is the same.
And another aspect, Sherry, of your encounter, Josh, is the possible age of Nebu.
Yeah.
And Sherry, you feel he said that he was hundreds of years old? Is that correct?
Yeah, over 200 years old. So I did the calculation. Yeah, I did the calculations to, and again, folks in our audience, there's a part 2 to my episode that has not been released yet.
Correct.
And maybe it will be. But in part 2, it explains that age and how it was kind of confirmed through the data and the information that was there, that he was over 200 years old, and it was definitely confirmed that he was.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. Good stuff, Sherry. All right. We're going to go ahead and move on. Well, you know what? Let me check in with everybody on Facebook. Tom Rudder, Jenny Tucker, man, thanks so much. Enrique, what's going on, buddy? We still got to talk and I still want to get out to the Lapeer State Game Area. Even though we don't have any evidence of Sasquatch out there, I still believe that's a possibility. Hey, George Lunsford. Thanks, everybody, tuning in on Facebook. Let's switch over to YouTube. Oh, my gosh. John Stewart, Michigan Sandman, Tennessee, Kentucky Bigfoot, everybody on here. And I'm missing somebody here. Hold on a second here. It is. Oh, hey, Nora. Nora is. Oh, my goodness, Josh. Nora is another fairy eyewitness from Gladwin, Michigan. She had one just recently. Was it in the fall, Nora? If you can chime in. But Nora says, Bryan, maybe the fairy heard of you because of your big name in the spiritual world for turning down, oh yeah, the contract with the devil. Josh, yeah, I had. So there's more to my life than you know, and we'll talk more. Hey, Jason Finch, everybody tuning in. Josh, I had a portal door when I was about, I got involved in the music scene here in the Detroit. You know, I had in Detroit, I had Aretha Franklin's engineer. I was writing songs. I was just about to sign this big record deal, and a portal door opened up in my living room at my house where I was living in, that would be Royal Oak, Michigan, Madison Heights area. I'm on the couch, a portal door opens up, and in walks the scariest thing to this day that I've ever seen in my life. And it's moving like this, Josh. And its hair's on fire. And I believe I would have had a heart attack, but the face was blurred. And it walks over to me and it hands me an envelope, and I open it up, dude. And so at that time, though, and this other, unlike the fairy sighting, I believe this could have been a vision. I open up the envelope and it's a record deal. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm supposed to sign this record deal, RCA, all of this, blah, blah, blah. I'm working with Phil Collins as producer. And then all of a sudden, a huge bright light comes in, bro. So this entity is standing to my right. My spirit separates from my body. I'm beholding these two things at one time. And what the cliche bright light comes in, this entity looks up at the bright light and was like, oh, crap, and zips out the door, goes back into that portal door, and it slams behind him. And in comes this enveloping light. And I know it's God. And I look back at the envelope and the paper, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. This is a cliche deal with the devil. And I come out of the vision and I say, hey, God, no matter what I think I know, I was really making headway here in Detroit. I said, no matter what I think I know, if you don't want me to do this, I'm out, man. I'm out. So I stopped until further notice. And then within 2 weeks, my production company called Touchdown Productions out of New York with George Clemens and Terry Downs through Tom Washington, one of Phil Collins' producers. They're like, hey, we don't know what happened. RCA just pulled all their money out, blah, blah, blah. We'll get back with you. Because at the time, too, I was writing a song for Billy Ray Cyrus and Bobby Brown's Comeback. It was pretty funny. And then I just stopped, bro. I stopped. I started going to church full time. And then that led into being in the drama group and acting and then going down that route. But yeah, so that's what Nora's talking about. Who knows? It's that's a good point, Nora. And I do think it's the marking and the understanding of they have a broader scope of seeing who we are than sometimes we do, because as I always say, we are stuck in an ant farm. We are confined by gravity, the 3 laws of thermodynamics, all that kind of stuff. Brenda Goodwin, let's jump over to you. I'm excited for you to talk to Josh, so I'm going to shut up and you can get to it, Brenda Goodwin. How are you?
Good, thanks. So I guess I'll start in order. Well, the phantom horse my mom saw, that was some years ago. And when I was 17, I saw a ghost horse of a horse that we had to put down due to colic. She was older and stuff. But what I'm really curious about was last Easter, more than a year ago. I had, it was after dark. I fed the horses, and I have a horse in the pasture, and I went to check the drinker, and I was shining. I had a high-powered flashlight. She got done eating sooner because I don't feed her as much as the oldest horse, and come walking up, not too far from where I was at checking the drinker, and she was just intent on looking at something at the opposite end of the pasture, which was like, well, I don't know, Brian, what would you say? At least the length of a football field?
Oh yeah,
Possibly.
without a doubt. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're a definite 100 yards.
And it was quite a ways away, and she was she was intently looking at something at the other end of the pasture, and I'm like, what are you looking at? So I was shining my flashlight down there, and I could see, to the end of the pasture, but I wasn't seeing any eye shine or anything. And she's normally not that curious about, I mean, there's deer all over the place here, and they graze in the pasture with them, and she's not normally so curious about the deer. She started walking down to the other end of the pasture, and I was following her most of the time with my flashlight, and then I was still, looking around, panning back and forth for any deer eye shine, which I was seeing none at all. And they've actually, the Sasquatch has actually been known to have braided or knotted, wrapped and knotted her mane before.
I've heard of that before.
And so there's activity with them and the horses. So she was heading down there, and she was almost to the very end of that pasture. And I've got my flashlight right on her, and I'm like, still wondering what the heck she's looking at. And then a thought crossed my mind. Well, where's my dog? I'm like, wanted to make sure my dog was still near me somewhere by the barn and not, traipsing out into the road or anything. So I turned my head and I said, where's Kimber? And I saw her, and, just like 3 seconds, my head was turned. I turned back, still had my flashlight aimed where my horse was at, but she wasn't there. So I shine it around. I'm shining it around all over the place. Where'd she go that quick? Looking around, and then I shine it up, and like right where on the other side of the hay ring, but maybe 50 feet from me, there she stood, facing the same direction, with her ears perked up and looking in the same direction she was when I saw her last 3 seconds previous to that. She was not breathing hard, no nostrils flaring, no breathing heavy, just standing there silently. If she were to run that far in that amount of time, I would have heard her. I would have heard her running. I did not hear her running, but there she was, right
she
back.
Was picked up and transported there.
That's what I was thinking.
That's what it sounds like.
Because there she stood, right there, right back where she started. And I'm getting chills just talking about it, because I'm like, what the heck? She was not out of breath. I could have heard her running. She did not run. And I don't think if she even had run that distance, she couldn't have made it in 3 seconds. The amount of time that I had my eye off her. And so I was just, I didn't, it freaked me out, but it didn't scare me, but it was just mind boggling. It was blowing my mind. I'm like, how'd you get back there? And there she just stood. No heavy breathing, no nostrils flaring, trying to get her breath or anything. So I know she hadn't run.
Zero signs of exertion.
No signs whatsoever of exertion. I did not hear her running. And there she just stood silently, calmly, staring at the same area.
And this is coupled with multiple Sasquatch sightings, Dogman sighting, a little person sighting, the phantom horse running across the field. So
Mhm.
this is
There's a
so
lot of different activity around here.
yeah. So what
So
is it a portal? Is it possible, like with that phantom horse, it was like a stallion running across in the snow and there were no footprints, and then the little person and the dog man multiples. Is it a portal area? Possibly. Is it?
To me, that sounds like where some people would say an area where the veil is thin, or like on a ley line kind of deal. You see, when you have the harmonic uh, uh, frequency, I guess to say, it is matching up between the land and what we would deem as the mirror world. It's the realm that we cannot see with our eye perception. Like, it's just like how we were talking about with harmonic induction. It lines up, and then you have a point of correspondence. So you have your forced frequency is steady. You know what I mean? Steady line waves, and then you have your standard frequency, like what we would put off, is erratic. But if the frequencies are lining up, the correspondence would cause points to where they would meet up in line, and that would bring an opening in between our realm and the mirror realm. And it seems like that's what you're in, is an area to where the frequencies of this realm and that realm are perfectly aligning and harmonizing, allowing such things to occur like that. Excuse me.
So
And,
you,
and
you
that
think she entered a portal that like
In
zapped
layman's
her
terms,
back
yeah,
to where she
portal.
started out?
That makes sense.
oh, that's good stuff.
Or
Good
would
stuff.
would the Sasquatch been able to do that to her
Now,
if they didn't
Sasquatch.
want her in the area at that time?
What,
Because
pick her up and
they
move her?
knew I was watching.
Yeah, they'd be able to pick her up and move her. I mean, even if they wanted, they could pick her up and move her, and you not even see it occur. See, like,
Well, I mean, not pick her up. Well, I know they can move fast.
oh yeah,
Yeah, but
you see,
you know,
he who holds
are
the
they
key to
able to?
vibration has the scepter of power. See, the Sasquatches, they can elevate and lower even cynocephaly or damn dogmen, stuff of that nature. They can line their frequencies up to do these at will. So they can align their frequency with the earthly matter and whatnot and vibrational frequencies, and they could just do this long
Do
as
you
the conditions are appropriate.
do you
And
think they could have created a portal
yes, that's what I'm saying.
to send her back to the other end of the field?
Yes. But the thing is, though, whenever they do this, okay, a lot of people think this as they go through a portal, they're going like miles away, or it don't work like that. When they step through that portal, they're inches away from the same spot. You're just on a different visual plane.
Wow. Hey, Josh, let's jump in. You've been kind of like giving a counseling session, and I appreciate that.
They call me Dr. Squatch.
How did you get? Let's get to you right now. How did you get started, and then walking down this path with all this? Man, you've got a great understanding. How did you get started in all of this?
Well, when it first started, it was like I grew up in an urban area, and I would go out and look for hauntings and cemeteries and different things like that. And you know what I mean? I was a young buck and looking for the paranormal stuff. And then my wife was a country girl. She was going to veterinary school at Vet Tech Institute of Pittsburgh. And so she moved to my area, and I'm telling her all this different stuff. Oh, that house is haunted, or that road is haunted, and this and that, 13 bends. So I was like, the one day, we was 2 weeks into a relationship. I'm like, babe, tell me something crazy about where you're from. She's like, there's these giant, naked, hairy people that live in the woods and only come out at night, and they steal people's livestock and your pets. And she started going down all the rules of night, like closing your blinds, not looking outside. And then she told me one snatched her dog in front of her when they were coon hunting. I'm like, whoa, what are you smoking? Share it with me. And then I shouldn't have insulted her because I never believed in Bigfoot. And I in a way, I insulted her by saying that to her. And she never mentioned it again until she said, I told you so. So we go out to my father-in-law's and he didn't like me too much. I was a city slicker and I wasn't good enough for her. You know what I mean? So I wanted to get away from him as much as possible. So I'm like, all right, I'm going out. I go in the woods. I'm out in the woods and there's these people looking around the trees at me. I'm like, hey, how's it going? And then they pop their head back behind the tree and I'm like, what the hell? So then I go up to the tree and they're gone. So I'm thinking these people are messing with me. And then they start throwing rocks at me. And I'm up there in the woods flipping them off, calling them backwood inbreds and this and that and the other. And they just got meaner and meaner. And then I got one on trail camera. I decided, I was like, I need to put trail cameras up. I need to see who these people are. See if they're deformed like on the movies. And then I got what I thought was a monkey on my trail cam, stealing it because it took my trail camera off the tree and it buried it face down in the leaves. It was like 2 or 3 months before I found the trail camera. The strap was sticking out of the leaves. I was down there going for a walk in the woods and I found it. So I look at the SD card. I'm like, holy crap, we got monkeys in Pennsylvania. And then I was like, winter came, it was April of 2009, I believe. I decided, well, it's cold out there. Foraging must be rough. Everything's froze over. So I'll go take them some apples and stuff. So I go down in the woods. I take apples and different types of fruits and vegetables. I start putting them on rocks and lining them on down trees. Then when the weather broke, I'd go down there and I'd have my night vision and everything. I'd set a hammock up, put apples on sticks and everything all around the camp area. And I started monitoring, but for the first, I ain't gonna lie, it took them 12 years to get to like me. Like they treated me like crap. They threw poop at me. They threw rocks at me. I had to wear body armor in the woods for a while because rocks are the size of dinner plates.
I've seen pictures of that body armor.
They even took a fence, a wire fence, and put it at the entrance after I came in. So when I was leaving the woods, I was routine, in and out, same spot. So they made a makeshift punji trap, to say, with the wired fence. I stepped on that bad boy. It went to the bottom of my boot and came out the top. ER visit, full penetration the whole way through. I was impaled.
Oh,
that hurt. So I'm like, because I was wearing body armor. They realized the rocks weren't working no more on me. Yeah, you're going to knock me down. Then you get to watch me look like a turtle trying to get up. But the armor was heavy. But, I wasn't getting hurt. So then they resorted to that. Then I just kept gifting them and gifting them and gifting them. And then I started catching on to their ways. So it's like, okay, like they're signaling back and forth. They're doing a single knock. So before I step foot in the woods, I'm going to do a knock. I do a single tree knock. Boom. Next thing you know, I got a knock here, a knock over there, a knock over there. I'm still thinking they're monkeys. So I'm like, all right, we're getting a communication thing down. So then we get down to the point is like, all right, well, when I leave them food, I'm going to knock twice. Because I've noticed that when they would come to get the food, they would knock twice. So I was mimicking them. And then comes the owl calls. So you're down there and you're hearing what sounds like barred owls, but if it was an actual barred owl, its lungs would explode. You know what I mean? Like it vibrates your chest. So I went and David Leonard Calls actually sent me an owl hoot. So I practiced it until I was able to match their calls. So I'd go out in the woods. But before that, it was like I started building a type of relationship with a young female one that I called Chaka. I'd go out in the woods. I'd have a big bag of apples. I'd hold it up over my head and go, Chaka, and stuff like that. And they'd come. And I'm like, wow, I call them and they come. And they stay back 30, 40 feet, and they would watch me peeking around trees and whatnot, but they weren't attacking me no more because I was feeding them. And this was bi-weekly, 3 nights a week, every 2 weeks, 3 nights in a row. So it continued like that. And then they started coming into the point where they're closer, and then we did an owl mimic. I would do the, hoo, 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 hoo sound with it, and then you'd hear it way off in the distance, and then I'd do it back, and then they'd do it back, and it would be closer every time. And then when it got about 15 feet away, they'd shake a tree, just let me know they were there. I mean, it took me forever to figure out they were Bigfoots. I thought they were monkeys. So I'm sitting here studying primates. I'm trying to figure out, well, what kind of monkey am I dealing with? What kind of ape is this? Aren't apes. So then once I learned that they were doing things that I watched one disappear right in front of me from the ground up. It just faded off. I was like, dude, that's like a ghost.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, what is this? And then it turned into a blue ball of light and just an orb. See, I'm thinking in terms of that period where my mind was. I'm like, it just turned into a ball of light and floated away. What is this? So I started researching more and more and more, and then it took me to the Bible. It took me to the Genesis. And then I started studying that. And then I started learning a lot of the terminology and whatnot. And then I noticed something. When Joshua went to Canaan, they were called the Emim. They thought they were the Nephilim, but they were not the Nephilim. They were the descendants of Anak. I'm like, wait a minute. What the heck's an Anak? Then I learned later that was the Anunnaki. So then you start studying all the other scripts. Like, it's where you would get into... I study ancient text. Like, I got the Mahabharata, I got the Gilgamesh, the Bhagavad Gita, I study Kabbalion, Numa Elish, the Popol Vuh, and I started noticing patterns. You got the same 3 species in a hierarchy all the way across the board. And that would be what we call these days the crawlers, your squatches, and your dogmen. And it's harder to make the connections through the Bible because they sum everything up as a Nephilim. Everything. Gotcha. It's a giant, it's a Nephilim. Oh my God, Yeah. But that's too easy to get sucked into that pool because it's more complex than that.
Okay.
So when you get into the different ancient texts, like, and what made me look further into this hierarchy deal was an interview I saw, and based on my encounters too, because before the Squatches come in, like, I thought I was dealing with a Sasquatch the one day, and it turned out it was a dogman. And so I started studying them, but then I realized it's like when you're down there, the dogmen come in first, then the Squatches come in, and then after years and years, then you start seeing the masters. And that's what Mark Barton was talking about on his interview, where he had his little flip out, where the Squatches sat him down and used harmonic induction, and they kept referring to the masters. The masters are the Igigi, what we call these days the pale crawlers. Wow. Now, if you go into the ancient Babylonian, Sumerian, Ephesus, or Gilgamesh and whatnot, and they talk about the Igigis. So what happened was they were a workforce, that's the crawlers, and they got sick of slaving for the Anunnaki, and they were deemed as the lower gods. So they mixed their blood with the Igigi to create the Lulu. The Lulu is what we would call Sasquatches. They were more robust workers. And that's what actually made me start studying the Sumerian language and text. And that's when I had my breakthrough with, I was learning a little bit of the language. I'm not no expert, I write down like uniforms, like, like I'm learning still.
Sure. Wow.
I go out there, I write a message, I hold it up over my head, I speak the words, and then I start getting uniforms back on my porch the next morning, done in sticks. And I'm like, whoa. So then I got to decipher, okay, what does this mean? And I get responses. So then I started learning to speak it. So I'd come up with a phrase that I want to say to them, and I'd try to memorize it and try to nail it. And then it got to the point where, like on the video I released today, as a matter of fact, I go out there, everything that I said to them, they comprehended 100%. I say, cast a stone. They look for a rock and they throw it. I say, I'd ask them to show themselves to me. You hear them moving in the brush, moving into a position to where they can meet my eyes. Wow. They know and speak Sumerian. And then I was listening to the Sierra sounds, and I'm like, holy crap, that is Sumerian that they're speaking, but it's fast. Like it's so fast, it's like a gibber, but it's ancient Sumerian, which makes sense, though, because you're looking at a language that was there before the Tower of Babel.
Man.
Before the linguistic barriers happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And everything you're saying makes sense. And so now things are starting to click in my brain a little bit. You know, maybe I've been too hard on the people who want to believe that these things are just Gigantopithecus, or maybe they know, but they're trying to kind of spoon feed us like babies. You know, that first step, like, hey, yes, there are things out there. Or is it because they just want the government money to prove another species? So that's a question to you. Why are they so dead set on, I guess, mainstream media, so dead set that these things are just Gigantopithecus?
It's easier to palpate for the common public, okay? It's like people don't realize that just because it looks like a Sasquatch doesn't mean it's a Sasquatch. You have your Lulu, which is what the Sasquatches are. Then you have the Nephilim, which those are the ones that you see coming in with the glowing red eyes, and they're real mean and this and that. And then you even have the Archons like Adamant, which you would find in the Secret Book of John or Sacred Book of John, depending what text, whether it's through the Apocryphal or the Nag Hammadi texts. There's different things that look the same.
Gotcha. And that's okay if there's different too, because I don't want to be too hard on those. I mean, Tim Dills who's sitting here, he has had to put up with me a lot. And because I come in, I'm the newbie. I come in with all this energy, and all I knew is not that I had any answers. I just knew they weren't just Gigantopithecus. There may be some that are more like Gigantopithecus, more biologically speaking, but then I knew it had to be bigger than that just from my fairy sighting and the experiences I had. So I have to apologize to Tim Dills for putting up with me for so long.
Well, also, if you take Genesis 6 into consideration, where they were taken upon women, all right, now if you take a divine bloodline, you intermix it with human, generation after generation after generation after generation, what's going to happen? You're going to get abnormalities. You're going to have from over hybridization. So that's when you're looking at like that 6 toe may come off through generations. That 6 finger might go away, leaving it with a 5 toe or even a 4 toe in a sense. You're going to lose mass, so they're going to get smaller. But then the other problem is the brain. When you mix something like that with the brain of a human obligata, you're going to have higher aggression levels.
Wow.
Another thing too, though, but through interbreeding with human genealogy, also they're going to lose levels of their hermetic vibrational output. So they're going to be more dense into our physical realm, whereas a more celestial type bloodline, I guess you could say, would be able to have the vibrational frequencies to dematerialize and raise its vibration into an orb, whereas this one, like we use a skunk ape, for example, is more dense, grounded in, or even the Albert witch from central Pennsylvania. You know what I mean? They're overbred with the human lineages.
Gotcha. Man, good stuff. Hey, let's chime in. YouTube, my vlog, Sunny 11 is in there. He says, let's say, a lot of the tribal languages are very fast too. English languages have many pauses and considered. English, is considered a slow language, and that makes sense.
Yep.
I have heard the Sierra sounds. You know, me and my buddy were out there, and then the realization that they'd been following us, and then right outside my tent did the Sierra sounds. I just love that experience. Oh, question. This past August found there were 2 footprints there, and it's a location where I've had activity before, but I found one of my most prominent footprints. And I came back, like George Lunsford from NCI was like, hey, you got to go back cast that one. So within 36 hours, I get back to the location. It's not far from my house, and I'm going to cast this. And Josh, man,
they ruined it.
What's that?
They ruined it before you got back to it.
Well, here's the thing. It wasn't like I saw any traces whatsoever of the former foot. It was gone completely, like it never existed in the first place. Now, because of that, I took that as a gift because I had been gifting them. So I took that as they had just walked out of the river. They kind of gifted me the footprint. And then when I came back for the evidence, have you heard of that before? Something that was just not like it didn't exist.
Well, you got to figure your greatest trackers in the world don't want to leave tracks. They will sweep their tracks behind them. They don't want to leave tracks. Or you'll notice too, when you're in the woods, you'll see trees laying down in a line or like in a grid pattern. They'll walk on those down trees so they don't leave prints. And a lot of times, like I've had a time once, I found a beautiful print. Beautiful, beautiful. It was like an 18.5-inch 6-toe print. And I went in, I boxed it off, I dumped all this plaster into it, and I was like, yay! I put a flag in there and everything so I don't lose it. I come back and it was smashed with the footprint in the cast, but it was demolished.
Yeah.
They don't want you gathering their evidence.
Oh. Now, with that said, let's chime in real quick. Hey, Ash's Antics says hello, everyone, on Facebook. Tracy Lynn Jones says hello, everyone. And I know I'm missing some people. I like to try to hit everybody. Michigan Cryptid.
That's my buddy.
Okay. Oh, yes. Michigan Cryptid. We've got Miss Sam.
I'll be on his channel tomorrow.
Oh, fantastic. I am Verlax. Boy, yeah, thank you, everybody, for chiming in. I love all your comments. Now, with that said, Josh, I have an issue. I just talked to somebody who's very well known last week or the week before. I was at the Red River Gorge, Kentucky Bigfoot Festival, and I had a chance to ask a very big known name a question. Now, I'm not going to give out the known name, but the question I find is being subdued by a narrative. And when he answered me, I'll give you that hint. When he answered me, he answered in the cover, what I would call the cover-up narrative. My question to him was, hey, here in Michigan, we're finding out there's more of these Sasquatches and paranormal beings than we ever imagined before, and we think their population numbers are larger than, what we maybe previously said. And he gave the cliche answer, well, I don't want to say Michigan has more than other places. And I said, well, I'm not really saying that. He said, and, the idea was, well, they're more respective to bear sightings and that cliche. And it's like, no, dude, there's way more of these things than we're ever imagining, and you guys don't want to admit that. So what are your thoughts on that, Josh? Is there some kind of government narrative that these big names are running with? And I don't know.
You want the narrative?
Yeah.
What does America love the most? What's your government love more than anything?
Money.
That dollar. Now check this out. That dollar make that government holler, okay? Now check this out. Here's the narrative, okay? Let's go public. Let's admit to everybody. Sasquatches are out there. Pale crawlers are out there. Skinwalkers are out there. Dogmen are out there. Mothman's going to pick you up and drop you on the pavement. Crawler's going to drag you up in a tree. Dogman's going to rip you to shreds. Guess what's going to happen? You're going to see a fewer number of tax stamps for hunting. So
Wow.
there goes revenue right there. And plus the deer population is going to boom. They don't want that. They need it regulated. So the regulation is going to go down and the financial is going to go down for the tax stamps on those. Your fishing tax stamp is going to go down because people are going to be afraid to go near water sources because everything that lives is attracted to water. So there goes the fishing licenses. Now, not only mention, and my buddy Cryptid Michigan, or Michigan Cryptid, he was a lumberjack. He'll be able to chime in on this. Your logging industry. You think those guys are going to want to go down there and cut down Bigfoot's home? Oh, no,
Right.
no. He's going to squish my head like a pimple. I ain't cutting that tree down. Nope. So there goes your logging industry, your paper mills. It's all about that dollar. When they leak certain things, the first instinct in humanity is fear. You fear something, you're going to avoid it to the highest extent. Yeah, you're going to have your avid people who are going to go out there and still do it. But then you're going to have your stupid people who are going to want to go out there and be like, oh, I'm going to go hunt this. I'm going to go shoot that. And then they're putting themselves in jeopardy because they're thinking there's only one in the area, when meanwhile, you see one 30 feet away, there's another one, and so forth and so forth.
Bingo.
There's always another one there. They always watch each other. So not only do you have the physical danger of people trying to hunt them and then becoming hunted, you have the financial end of it. You have the increase of a deer population that would occur. That would be more traffic accidents, more wasting deer disease, more tick population, which they wouldn't mind that now that Big Pharma's trying to push out that Lyme disease scab. But you see what I mean, wink, wink. Yeah. But it all boils down to that dollar.
And accountability. Yeah. I mean, yeah, and which is money. Which is they would have to reimburse for people knowing. I mean,
come on now. What goes in a hunter's mind? If I go and shoot this, I'm going to be rich. I'll sell it to a museum. Go ahead. The Smithsonian will take it and they'll say they never saw it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, listen, everybody. We got about 5 minutes left, and
you're running out of time.
I appreciate my full panel, but has the rest of my panel got any questions for Josh or anything you want to talk about?
One thing
the only thing I've got to see if you can hear me.
Okay,
can you hear me?
Go ahead. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, from the experience from 8 years old on up, the different types of Bigfoot that I have come across throughout Michigan, I feel like Brian had told me in the very beginning that you do have an aurora that they can sense, that you're safe and friendly. And they have that connection. Mm-hmm. And that's, I've always felt comfortable and safe around them ever since I was protected as a kid from them. They are friendly to women and children. And I have found that when I have aggressive males in my family that wanted to rough and scare the kids we took camping, they protect us very much so. And I have always felt very safe and knew that they can sense your connection to them.
Yes, definitely. Like I feel I go in the woods, I don't take a firearm with me, nothing. I know nothing's gonna bother me.
Good stuff.
But I know exactly what you mean.
So that's that's how they can read us, or we say marked or tagged, but it's how they read us and whether we have ill intentions or not. Hey, Tim Dills, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say it makes a lot of sense. Just talking about being tagged and stuff. I know of at least 6 groups of them here in my county, and every one of them, they don't bother me. They just let me come and do what I want to do. I took George and Robert into one of my areas, and George got about 4 rocks thrown at him. So they didn't like George very good.
Really?
Yeah.
George.
We was walking up.
They weren't mean to me until I was disrespectful to them. I ain't going to lie. I was the aggressor back then, and then they amplified it. They gave me tenfold back.
They definitely had George's number that day, and we got up to a spot where I told them that I'd sit down to rest, and a rock come over my head and landed out in the clear cut in front of me. And I was standing there telling them about it, and a rock about that big around whizzes by George's head and misses his head, which I know they could have hit him if they'd wanted to, but it missed his head by a couple of inches and busted the limb behind him. He was marked all day long for some reason. I don't know what it was. Man, Robert was having a ball out of it because they wasn't bothering
Tim, to go along with their accuracy, on my light rig that I use when I was live streaming in the woods, I have IR illuminator boxes on it, and I ran a full spectrum camera on top of it. I made the comment the one time during a live stream. I was like, "Hey guys, I could go completely dark and kick on an IR illuminator and move in total darkness to see what I could get." The moment I said that, a rock came down and busted my IR illuminator right off of my light setup, snapped the Picatinny rail off of it and everything. And then it sat up in the ferns, laying on its belly, just sitting there watching me trying to fix my equipment. That is how accurate their aim is. A box. I mean, here, I have one right here. The same kind of model. I'll show you. Knocked it right off my setup, one of these.
Wow.
I know.
From a distance up on the hill, and it hit it sideways. So that coverage nailed it with a rock and broke it off my equipment the moment I mentioned using it.
We've had them like you. They'll take our cameras off and turn them upside down, take them off the tree and turn them upside down so they can't take pictures. And up in one of my main areas this year, we had about 4 different cameras that they'll come in. And I don't know what you call the trigger eye on a trail camera. I just call it the trigger eye. But they'll come in and bust that out so that they can't take pictures. And they'll either leave it hanging on the tree or they'll take it off and throw it down. But nothing else is touched on the whole camera except that one little live that. And I guess
can see that spectrum of light.
Yeah, that's what I'm figuring. They're saying that beam that it's putting out, and
That's
coming
mean
in.
though. They could just all they have to do is use their frequency and oscillate it. They can oscillate your equipment, shut it down, and drain your batteries.
Oh yeah,
they intentionally are destroying your stuff. That's messed up.
And
they said no.
That same area this year, they messed with my my audio recorders. I think it was either 3, 4, 5 different times they tore it up. One time you can hear a big one walking up, and I mean it's big because you can hear the thump, 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 and then it starts smelling the audio recorder, and then it screws the lid off, packs it full of mud and dirt, screws the lid back on it, and takes off running.
I used to hide my audio, a Tascam unit, in a deer blind next to the gifting table, and I'd hide it. And they never found it. But you could hear you can hear everything when it's coming in, and then you just hear this vibration sound. And when they get happy, you could hear the vibration level speeding up. It's crazy.
This is what I keep mine in. And it come in and screwed that end off of it. I got it all on audio. And then it packed it full of dirt, and I had to bring my audio recorder home and dry it out for about 2 weeks.
Did you give the courtesy like I do to leave your equipment not running where they can inspect it and see what it is so they know, like, this ain't going to harm me kind of thing?
Well, I do know that the very first time I put an audio recorder up there, I figured it was a juvenile because it sat there combined about 5 hours breaking little twigs. It sat there and you know, when you're looking at your audio and you get all these little check marks, I'm like, oh boys, I've hit the mother lode. Every bit of it was twig snapping. And then you hear this big wood knock and it takes off. And about 3 or 4 hours later, it comes back for a couple more hours, just sitting there breaking twigs.
This might not make sense to you because you're looking at it like how a human would think, but when I would go into the woods and do my thing, I would let them know this is recording. If the light touches you, it will see you. I give them the option whether or not they're going to be on my camera or not. I don't just blankly go out there and exploit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Because to them, it's a sign of disrespect. You're exploiting them. If you're being like that, like, yeah, I sneak my task cam, but my actual equipment, I let them know what it's going to do, how it functions, and I tell them it's like hide and seek.
We was actually walking in the other day and run up on about between the 4.5 and 5 foot long timber rattler, and Rachel that goes with me, she just about stepped on it because she was picking up EVPs. And we're standing there talking about the snake, and it come across the EVP, and it said, "I'm leaving." So we turned around and left, and we got almost back to the truck, and it said hiss. So they was having fun with us that day. Yeah, Jens got a snake, I'm leaving, and then we get back to the truck, and it's like hiss, ha 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 ha. So that bunch up there, I've been dealing with them for probably about 6 years now, and that's the one that I accidentally put my hand on my gun, and I wish I had never done that because I've not seen it since then. It showed itself to me before that, but I was wanting to get a look at it through my scope because my phone wouldn't pick it up. And then I thought, well, I don't want it to think I'm going to hurt it, so I put my gun back down. But I'm trying to build it back up, but we'll see.
You breached the trust. The moment they smell that oil, that powder, that's a wrap. They view you as something different than what your intent really is at that point. Because here's another thing you have to take consideration when you brandish something of that nature there. What happens when a person gets scared and they have one of those?
Oh, yeah.
They will aimlessly shoot in the dark and not even acquire a target.
Yeah.
They know that. They're not stupid.
That's the reason I put it back down. I mean, I just looked, and when I did that, it stepped behind the tree, and I could still see from here over. And I thought, well, I don't want it to think I'm going to hurt it, so I just put it down. But it'll take time, but it'll be all
I carry
right.
a spear in the woods in case of wild animals, and I'll carry a Bowie knife on my leg and a karambit on my chest. I won't even take my crossbows on. I got a hybrid crossbow that takes both ball bearings and fretless arrows, and it's got a big bayonet on it. I don't even take that in the woods with me.
Yeah. Well, I'm usually hunting, so I take all my stuff with me. They do like to come in and get the gut paws off the deer and hogs that I kill. So
fantastic.
How about Brian's got to go to work?
Yeah, sorry guys, we got to wrap it up, and you know what? We're going to elaborate more on this, Josh. But when I first started this whole thing, I was like fearful. They're all monsters and going to eat us. And man, if I can get you back on, that would be great. We'll talk more about that aspect because I've really been enlightened since then. And but with that said, Josh, thanks for being on. Where can
you know how to get a hold of me?
I see in the comments. Yes. I see in the comments, Brian Barber. He's one of our eyewitnesses here in Michigan. He wants to get a hold of you. So if you could talk to him, Brian Barber, that would be great. But Josh, where can people follow you at?
Well, on YouTube, Squatch Topic, capital P.A. I'm on TikTok, but if it's made on my phone, I'll put it on TikTok. If it comes off an SD card, it ain't going on TikTok. And then plus TikTok likes to hand out violations like candy over stupid stuff.
Okay.
I'm not good with their guidelines as far as the way I talk. Guys say certain phrases instead of the real words. I don't like that First Amendment bull crap that they nail you on.
Amen.
But Facebook, SquatchTopicPA on Facebook, but it's a private group to keep trolls weeded out. So you have to actually submit, a permission request.
Awesome. All right,
if
man.
you request,
so
I'll let you in. But if you're rude to people, I'll kick you out.
Oh, that's how we are, man.
No bullies.
Oh, yeah. God,
Yep.
Sherry, Brenda, and Cheryl, they're booting people left and right constantly. That's just how we got to be as we follow this topic and get the truth out there. All right, everybody, thanks for being on here. And, everybody at home, we got to cut it short real quick. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Bigfoots of America podcast show, and we will see you next time.
Good night.